Today I'll be talking about the writing materials, writing styles and the skills needed to produce Magna Carta. This is a piece of parchment. It's made from sheepskin. It actually has the lines and the veins of the sheepskin. English laws and acts of parliament are still written and recorded on parchment because of its durability. We use the pumice stone to smooth the surface. You only write on one side of the parchment and this needs to be smooth, otherwise it would literally spray ink right across the page. The iron oak gall ink that is used in the writing of the Magna Carta aids to its longevity. It is made from oak galls, which are the oak tree's reaction to a wasp larva, and iron sulfate, which is added to the mixture. It is thickened with gum arabic, which is the sap of the acacia tree, and made with wine and water as well. It is possible to actually watch the ink react with the parchment and oxidize. As it goes on, it looks very thin, and in a brief time you can see it actually go black. We'll now do the writing implements that were used to write documents such as Magna Carta. The simplest one is just a stylus. It can be a piece of wood, it can be a piece of bone, it can be a piece of ivory, it can be a piece of glass. It's just pointed at one end, blunt at the other. It's simple, it works. We'll move on now to the reed pen. Simple piece of reed. Has been around since the Egyptians, the Romans used them, and would have been popular in medieval Europe as well. I will cut this with a penknife. It is a knife used to cut a pen. These are simple, sturdy, can be used to make a wider variety of points than quill pen, and more common and easy to find than goose feathers. We now come to the quill, which is the preferred writing implement of the medieval scribe. It's a goose quill, as described before. They're selected for their long barrel, which means you can get many nibs out of one feather. Unlike what you think, most quills weren't used a la Shakespeare with the complete feather. They were trimmed down to an easily portable and comfortable size. This is achieved quite easily by just simply stripping back the feather part and trimming to size. It's simply like the reed pen, only a little bit more refined. Gothic Script is a very strange style of writing. It mainly composes of downward strokes. This is the cut of the pens and the hardness of the quills that were used. It makes it very difficult to actually read, but it does mean it can be a concise and packed form of writing, meaning you can get more on the parchment. Parchment was expensive, so the more letters you can get on a piece of parchment, the better it was for them. What I'm going to do now is write with a much finer nib and a lot smaller size, similar to the size that would have been used in documents of the medieval period. And that is probably twice the size that would have been written in a lot of the stuff. To make it the correct size, this is absolutely fine for what they call bookwork, but for documentation, a quicker, more readable form has to be developed. And what you get is from the very Gothic Script, which is particularly difficult to read, you end up with a variation which is borrowed from the scripts that came earlier. A little bit of Carolingin in there, a tiny bit of insular script has crept in to still give it that Gothic look, but it's quicker and easier to write, and it is much easier to read. What I've done here is what would have actually happened on Magna Carta. They'd have lined the parchment out to make sure that everything was neat and square. They would probably have written the words in with a soft lead pencil. That's not a pencil as we know it, but one made out of lead, so that they knew all the words fitted onto that single piece of parchment. They would then go over it in ink, and then they could actually erase the previous softly written words. To sum up, what I'm going to do here is show the difference between two facsimiles of Magna Carta. We have one that's a copy from Lincoln and one that's a very good copy from Salisbury Cathedral. The script is entirely different. What you've actually got here is one that's written by the clerk of the court. It's done in what they politely call a diplomatic hand, which is basically a clerk producing these at speed and trying to get as much done by the end of the day as possible. The writing style actually harks back to a previous style of writing before Gothic Script was popular. This one is more along the lines of Gothic Script, but adapted, and in it we find Latin abbreviations. We actually see little idiosyncrasies used by the scribe that actually did this, his habit of joining two letters together. These have also been found in documents from Old Sarum, which is when and about the time this one would have been produced, so there is a link in there from a local scribe working for the bishop doing this one. And the amount of working hours is around 35 hours per Magna Carta. That's with breaks and everything else, but it's a lot of time sitting or standing over a board, cramped, writing this tiny size writing. Another fallacy, this is not Latin. This is French Latin. Latin is a language that keeps developing and moving. If you showed that to the average Roman, he wouldn't have understood it at all. So the two different types, landscape, portrait, produced by the royal court clerks, one done for the bishop in Salisbury.